2, 1.
Water's life, man.
It sure is.
Oh,
It
dude.
sure is.
Hey, everybody. Tony from NLFX Professional, and we are here today with Joe, the audio pro from Shure, for Tony's Tech Tip Thursday. So, Joe, I come with this question that all of my customers are asking me. What wireless microphone system should I get? Tell me a little bit about what you think people should look at when they're selecting their wireless microphone.
Sure, that's a great question. Thanks for having me, Tony.
You're welcome.
I think there's a couple of considerations that we have to think about and maybe even ask the customer to see how they're using or how they anticipate using the wireless. You know, is it only going to be one wireless system being used at the same at one time, or do they plan to use 3, 6, 10, 20 wireless all at the same time? Another big factor to consider is, you know, what does the RF environment look like? You know, if are you out in the middle of nowhere, not near a large city? Maybe there's not very many digital TV stations or potential RF, interference, potentials around the area. Then you can get by, with a more entry-level system and not worry about interference as much. But if you're in a larger city, for instance, or you're going to be running a larger amount of systems more simultaneously, then maybe you need to get a little bit more spectrally efficient RF system that might be a little bit more expensive. Or maybe you are in a convention center and there's a lot of Wi-Fi activity happening. You know, there are certain wireless systems that operate in that same frequency band. So these are just things we want to consider to make sure you get the best wireless mic for the specific application, so it won't cause you issues down the road.
Right, okay, and the other big thing is, hey, I do a lot of outdoor ceremonies, what should I consider when I'm buying a wireless system for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, even just simple questions as, a handheld wireless transmitter versus a headset mic or a lapel. If it's a wedding, maybe the officiant has a lapel mic or a over-the-ear mic. Maybe the wedding guests or musicians also want wireless. So think about how many systems in total, and what style of transmitter.
Okay.
If it's a headset mic, do you want a larger, more super durable fitness headset mic, for instance, or maybe it's they want to go with the least visible option, so you can hardly tell that they're even wearing one.
Right. The other question that I have had, and I've asked you, is can I use a handheld and a lapel at the same time on a combo system?
That's a great question, and that does come up pretty frequently. I get the same question. So if you have two transmitters that are operating on the same exact frequency to one receiver channel, you shouldn't operate them both at the same time. If you were to use one and turn the other one off, that would be fine. And then if you wanted to switch to the handheld, you can turn that one on as long as the other transmitter is off. But if you use both transmitters at the same time on the same frequency, you're going to get interference issues and a lot of dropout issues.
Great, Joe. That's awesome for the outdoor ceremony. Now let's take it inside. What would I consider if I'm doing a reception inside and I've got a lot of cell phone activity?
Sure. So, I would, if you're in a building with cell phone activity, but a lot of wireless systems as well, maybe you're in a larger convention center with a lot of Wi-Fi access points around and a lot of, wireless internet being used, maybe a system that operates in that 2.4 gigahertz spectrum maybe isn't the greatest idea. So maybe switching to something like a UHF or a VHF option could be advantageous there.
Awesome. Then the other thing is, a lot of times figuring out like what frequency is best. Let's bring it home with Shure. What kind of tools does Shure give you to make sure that you have the right frequency so that you're not getting dropouts or you're not getting RF hits on your receiver?
Sure, that's a great question. I think if you're using a very few amount of systems, 1 to 3 amount of systems, on just about every receiver, wireless receiver, there's actually a scan function built in. So you can actually hit that scan, it'll scan to find the best group and channel, the best frequencies available, and you can use those. As soon as you start getting into larger deployments, you're using more wireless, or you're in a more crowded RF environment, a larger city, then using an actual RF scanning tool, a handheld device, or using a integrated networked receiver where you can see the scan and use software to deploy the correct coordinated frequencies is a good way to go to make sure you're going to have a dropout free or interference free event.
Great. Well, that kind of leads into my next question. I know this, but for the viewers out there, there are different systems in Shure, and there are actually systems in Shure that you can connect to your computer and you can monitor. Can you just go over the differences in systems and what you can connect to a computer and what you cannot?
Absolutely. So Shure has a free wireless coordination software tool that helps you just kind of plan out your frequencies, so you're not just kind of randomly guessing to see, to try to find free frequencies. So the software is called Wireless Workbench. You can download it for free on Shure's website, and you can enter any frequency, whether it's a networked Shure device or a non-networked device. You can even add other manufacturers of wireless, which is really cool. Not even just Shure, but on SLXD, QLXD, ULXD, and Axion Digital, you're actually able to network in, so they show up, the wireless show up in the software automatically, and you can remotely make changes, do scans that'll show up in a plot, and deploy new frequencies.
So with those systems, what actually happens if there's an RF hit? Does that automatically hop into a different frequency, or how does that work?
Sure. So we'll take ULXD for an example. So if the ULXD receiver senses interference, it'll actually show up on the receiver as interference, and it'll show up on the computer software as well. So then that'll tell you, the technician, to when there's some free time, maybe go and change that frequency, or recalculate, rescan a new set of frequencies. On the higher tier, the Axion Digital stuff, you can actually set it up to be automatic interference detection and avoidance. So it'll detect interference and it'll automatically deploy a new frequency to the receiver and the transmitter.
That's super cool, man.
Which is cool. Yeah.
That's very useful. I'm sure a lot of you out there would like that, but you're saying, that's high dollar. How can I do that? So with that, a lot of customers are asking, like, what's the difference in models? Like, a lot of people are like, well, should I just get GLXD, or should I get QLX, ULX, and they're getting all confused. Can you just kind of run through what the different models are and what what kind of features and benefits are for each model?
Absolutely. And before I get into that, there's an online software tool as well called Shure's Wireless Frequency Finder. So that's a great way if you're looking into purchasing a wireless system, you're not sure maybe which tier or even which band of frequency to get within a specific tier. It's a way you can just quickly type in your zip code. It'll search the FCC database in a certain mile radius, and it'll tell you how many simultaneous wireless channels you can use in a given frequency in a certain tier. So that's also a good indicator of which band you should be using for a specific city. Say you need, to purchase 8 channels of certain wireless, and you type in your zip code, and it's showing that there's only 4 available frequencies. Well, maybe you need to step up to a higher tier to make that application work.
Very cool. It's a good, worthwhile investment of your time then to research and find out, hey, can this work in the area I'm doing it? A lot of customers are nationwide and they want to, get the best solution for wherever they're going to be. So that's very helpful. So, yeah, back to that question I had about what's the difference in models? I'm confused.
Absolutely. So if we look at kind of the different tiers for sure, you can start with looking at the BLX line. So the BLX is analog. It comes with 2 different receiver styles. There's a receiver, that has a built-in antenna, built-in internal antenna, and it's not rack mountable. So it's portable. It's easy to throw it in your bag and take it off to a gig. And there's also a version that's rack mountable for a fixed install, or if you want to rack mount it into a portable rack. The rack mountable version also has removable antennas. So if you want to remote mount your antennas, that would be a good receiver option to get. Another tier is called the SLXD. So the SLXD is cool. It has a metal transmitter, metal body pack. It does operate in the 2.4 gigahertz spectrum. It is digital, so it's more spectrally efficient, and it doesn't have the artifacts, the companding artifacts that you could potentially hear with the BLX system.
Well, what is companding? A lot of people are like, he just came up with a word that I don't even know what that means.
So it's a word that comprises the words compression and expanding all in once. But it's a scheme that they use in order to, before they transmit the audio wirelessly, you kind of compress a signal before it goes out wireless, and then once it hits the wireless receiver, then it expands that signal into a usable format.
Great. Sorry to interrupt your thought there. So what would be the next tier up from the SLXD?
Sure. So the next step up would be the SLXD. So SLXD comes in both a single channel and a dual channel receiver. It has a metal handheld transmitter. There's a plastic but very durable body pack transmitter. It is networkable, and it is compatible with wireless workbench.
Okay, well, let's pause right here. The big question always, what's availability looking like right now?
Sure. So it's a little bit hit or miss depending on what tier that you're looking at. SLXD and GLXD are pushed out a couple months at this point, but some of the higher tier stuff, the QLXD and the ULXD, have better outlooks for availability.
Okay. So on to the next level after SLXD, what's that?
Sure. Then we're going to jump up into our QLXD, and then above that is ULXD. So both the same kind of RF scheme that they're using. The ULXD comes in a single, a dual, or a quad receiver options.
Awesome.
And then the highest tier is called Axion Digital, and that's really for touring musicians, stadium use, arenas, large convention halls, with the maximum RF stability, with the most minimum amount of dropout.
Well, thanks, Joe. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by, Tony.
Yeah, no worries. And if you'd like to learn more about Shure products, you can go ahead and hit the like button and share this with your friends. We're happy to answer questions. In fact, a lot of those questions I'll bounce off of Joe. But in the meantime, have a great day.